welcome to the show. I am Marie. Today I have Evelt, Coach Evelt. I have to remember now. That's your title now. Coach Evelt is here with us to talk about reimagining love and relationships as we start the new year. Do you think more people are thinking about love at the beginning of the year?
Well, basically, good evening, good morning, everyone, wherever you're watching. Yes, every new year, everybody has to do that so-called New Year's resolution thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and one of the item in that bucket is really love, relationship, all the time.
Relationship. So, as you want to tell our viewers a little bit about you as a relationship coach, I don't think I've ever asked you, like, how did you or what inspired you to become a relationship coach? Or maybe you're one of those people
Wow.
who's always been in love with love. And so you're like, let's do relationships.
Oh wow. Well, I think I feel like I was born kind of like to do that because I always looking from afar to see how people react, and I look at when two people are together, they're so loving. You see,
Hmm.
they're so tight, and they get to a point. If there's a breakup, there's a divorce, and they tear each other down. It's
Hmm.
like you know, two people it's mind-boggling. And I used to say to myself, yeah, come on, what happened?
Hmm. How did we get here? I hear that a lot.
How did we get
From
here? And
love to this point. Yep.
yeah, and over the years, because and I feel like people is my thing. I love people, and relationships is really something that I think that is part of my makeup, so to
Hmm.
speak. Hmm.
So yeah, no, it's a thing. I mean, I think I've described you as, well, you've described yourself as mission driven. I think I've added heart centered because in terms of really thinking about people, people first in terms of what they want, how they feel, but also their relationship with themselves. Because a lot of time people are looking for other people, but then they neglect what kind of relationship that they have with their own self. Do you see that a lot?
Yes, because what happened is, I think it's almost universal that we, most of the time, we don't feel that we are good enough. Because we feel like we're not good enough, we always kind of like looking someone to complete us.
Mm.
However, you will quickly find out that it's not someone that's going to complete you. The completion you're looking for has to come from within. It's not going to come from outside in.
Okay.
So when you are whole and complete, then this is the time that the real relationship will come. It's not that person that coming to complete you,
Mm-hmm,
but that
mm-hmm.
person come. We help each other grow, but it's not by any stretch a completion.
Well, that's hard to challenge because, well, that's hard to even imagine because in the movies, that's what we hear, right? All the romance you see. You remember that movie? You complete me, right? And
Yeah.
people are like, "Oh my God, that's the most romantic thing ever," right? To say to someone, or for someone to feel like
Yeah.
you found your
Yes.
person and now you feel like you are whole, right? Imagine like, and that's a challenge in some situation because if you don't feel whole and you're looking for somebody else to make you feel good about
Hmm.
you and to feel completed, that's starting to feel like a job to me.
It's so hard. It's so hard nowadays, just to the fact that talking about reimagining
Hmm.
love. Back in the day in the village, we didn't have that many options, right? So it's like you in the village, you know so and so family, it's not that was
Yeah,
not that many.
not that many
But
option.
look now what we have. We have this digital village
Oh,
where we can
you have the whole globe. You have the globe.
oh yeah, you have the entire
Yep.
the entire planet in the palm of your hand.
Hmm.
Now, how are you gonna know? Here's a really challenging question. And sometimes as a coach, somebody might come to me and say, "Hey, coach, how do I know when I find The
The
one.
one.
Well, I don't know
Mm,
what they
yeah.
is the one. How do you
Yeah.
answer that?
I don't know. Because well, it goes with that quote we have, right? With the book you're reading right now. We're keeping that all a secret for now. Where
Yes.
we learn, I mean, one I'll ask you, what it means, right? But because of
Mm-hmm.
the book you're reading, we can share a little bit about what it is that
Sure.
we grew up learning that love is a feeling, that love is emotion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now has the meaning of love shifted for you in terms of it's not that?
Well, I
Oh,
can
part of
say
it.
not
It's
at all.
part of it.
It's part of it. However, if you look at chemistry and feelings, you will see you may have feelings for different people. You may have chemistry for different people, but that not gonna translate to love. It doesn't.
Mm,
It's
mm,
feeling because love is an action, is a choice that you make, and it's something that you it doesn't just happen, and
mhm.
you cannot love everybody the same. I got four
Right.
kids. I love them each one differently. I have to love them based on their own personality, based on their own love language.
Mhm, mhm.
So you cannot, there is no universal way to love someone. So there has to
That's a
be
myth. You
custom.
just shattered a myth right there because people think there's one way, right?
No,
What happened to love? What happened to chocolate and roses and all this stuff that was like that's a guaranteed.
no, no.
No, no.
It is no. That's not by any stretch because you say, okay, that's the reason why in so many relationships you look at someone and you say, okay, your past relationship, this is how you used to behave, but in the
Mhm.
next one, if you behave the same way, it's not going to be any relationship because you don't take time to learn
Right.
this one personality, love language, temperament. I mean, so many different things that you need
Mhm.
to understand. Value system is a keyword right there
Ah,
because
yes.
mhm,
That's a big one.
it's yeah.
But your own value system, right? Because again, a lot of time I was watching it was like a comedy thing with this I don't know if she's on, I think she used to be on SNL. So she's talking about how, I think Oprah must have had an episode where she's like, create this list and add all the all the qualities you want. And she's like, and somehow I'm just gonna manifest this person. And she was so mad. She's like,
Mhm.
that's ridiculous. I don't believe in all these. she's she's like, she make it seem so easy. Like I'm just gonna manifest like the person that I'm looking for. And some people do make it
Right.
seem easy, but on the other hand, the list that's always missing is, as you're saying, like all lists first in terms of like
Yes,
our own value system, who we
that's right.
are, right? I think you talk a lot about like who we are first.
Hmm.
Self-love is part of that blueprint that you often talk about before you start looking for those things in another person, because sometimes we are looking for things in somebody else that we don't even possess or have developed.
Exactly. That's the biggest. I think this is one of the biggest dilemma we face, where you rush to get into a relationship without take really an inventory of your own self,
Mm-hmm.
because in all of us have a baggage. We have baggage. Okay, so do you even know about your baggage? Do you even know about the stuff that been haunting you? Do you even know about some trap emotions that you have? Some stuff
Mm.
that really, that there's some trauma that you suffered from, and you forget, but you forget those traumas sometime. But in the subconscious level, you still have those traumas,
Yep.
and they're gonna come up in the course of this relationship. They're gonna come up and cause you harm.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be so much better if you spend some time really taking some inventory, do some kind of assessment, see a coach. I don't I don't quick to say therapist because if you're not hurting, but sometimes because in coaching we have a little bit of combination of therapy, therapy and then coaching, but we're not therapists, we are coaches. But
Coaching. Yeah.
the thing is, we can also take you back towards your childhood and to see what happened, where you grew up, and all these things gonna really contribute to the well-being of your relationships. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. And sometimes we don't think about it, and it start way early. Like as we reading the text we're gonna eventually introduce is the idea that we start learning about love and relationship much earlier. I mean, again, it seemed obvious in terms of literally as children, but I know a lot of people
Right.
learn about that. Those fairy tales are everything, particularly
Hmm.
for little girls, right? And boys as well, depending on what they're hearing in terms of what's expected of each one in a relationship. What role am I
Right.
expected to play as you grow up, and
Right.
perhaps what you're seeing in our society, at home. And again, most people assume we start the same way, right? People always assume love is the foundation, is how we start, but I'm like, not, it's not always, and we can't make that assumption. And so, in spite of how we started, is there room to sort of be to create our own way of loving in spite of how we started as children, or in spite of those traumas that we may have had?
Well, there's so much, and I'm glad you brought that
You're
up.
like, let's unpack this. It's a lot.
Right. Okay. All right. In this country, since you once you turn 16, in some state, maybe I don't know all the states, what age, but where I am in Pennsylvania, if you turn 16, your parents can co-sign for you. You get a learner's permit. You can start. You can learn how to drive,
Mm-hmm.
and then once you learn how to drive, you can have a license,
Right.
correct? But they make sure you have a license that you learn.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, you study a book, you go take your reading test, you pass it, then you got to go to practice to learn how to drive a car. Anything that we do, you got to go to school, you got to get a
Learn
certificate, or
it.
you got to get a, right? So how come you gonna be with someone, spend the rest of your life, and there's no kind of like schooling or courses or that
Nope.
you okay. So my question is, where did we get our best relationships advice from?
Mm.
That's
Where?
the question. There's something where.
Where? Well, I think everyone should think about that. I think it would be great to know, like, that first, where we're learning it and where we're still learning it, by the way, right? Because I think sometimes we are looking, like, for example, like, even like I said, culture plays such a big role. Pop culture plays a big
Mhm.
role. The things we're watching,
Yes.
we're reading, and I think even as young up until adults, to me, love is always shrouded in fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally, it's almost like this thing that's like magical. Like it's just, just. And so I think a lot of us are disappointed as adult because it doesn't feel, all the stuff doesn't really happen. Love can still exist and love can still be part of it, but it doesn't feel the way it appears in the movies or the books and all this grand feeling. It
Mm-hmm.
could be, right? And I think sometimes if you're expecting that in real life, you may have a lot of disappointment because it's like it doesn't, it rarely matches, right? And even if it does, and I think in the beginning a lot of people do these grand things, and then I don't know who can sustain that level of romance and so forth for the duration of a relationship.
Yeah, to quote our late Sidney Poitier, peace
Mm,
be up. He wrote a book called The Measure of a Man.
mm-hmm,
Okay, and it could be because pretty much the measure of a man pretty much is talking about a species called man that include men and women. Just
mm-hmm.
to clarify that it's not man per se, the male man, but it's species.
All.
And he said, how do you measure a man? You see, if you walk down the street with a man or a woman, you adjust to their pace and they adjust to yours, and this is how you're going to be measured, because this is
Mm.
who you work with. So where we learn how best really relationship advice from, so we got to look back to see where we learned them from and to see how we're
Yeah.
doing today.
Yeah. So that's something I would invite everyone to do, because sometimes we think the answers are going to be there, but I do encourage, like one of the question I was asking is, do you want to improve your relationship this year, or are you willing, or
Mhm.
what's your intention? What are your
Exactly.
intentions to improve your relationship, right? Because a lot of time we think things are perfect because we don't want to address them. And then other time is it's really about intentionality in terms of sometimes we expect things from other people, but what is your intention in terms of improving your own relationship? Even if you think it's perfect, even if whatever you may think of it, is there one more thing you can do? So, as many people will be listening and watching, like what would you recommend, regardless of the state of their relationship? Is there a thing that we can do as a way to elevate your favorite word you just give to me, to elevate our relationship with self, but also with others in our lives?
Well, number one is always number one is to point the finger towards you. It's like
Okay.
the song for Michael Jackson, "The Man in the Mirror."
In the mirror.
So that's basically this is the easiest thing. You look at in the man in the mirror, and then ask the man in the mirror to change his way. To that point, there was a lady that went to Zig Ziglar, really the late Zig Ziglar. He said, "Oh,
Mhm.
Mr. Zig, I got so much problem is my job, so I want some help from you, And Zig asked her, "What's the problem? What happened?" I said, "Well, nobody in my I hate that job. I cannot stand it to
Strong.
quit. I got so stressed, this and that." And Zig said, "Okay, no problem." Zig said, "Okay, is there anything in that job that really that you love? But at least I know there's one. You get paid, right?" Zig, and she said, "Yeah, Mr. Zig, of course I get paid." He
Yeah.
said, "Okay, so when you get paid, what does that money allow you to do well at the end? Because it
Mm.
doesn't that." But I think there's one thing that you really that job you like about the job at least. She said, "Well,
Yeah.
yeah." I said, "Okay, here's what I want you to do. When you go to work tomorrow or the next day, focus on the fact that you get paid and that money allow you to send your kids to school, you pay your bills, you pay your rent, and things that really you don't like, and just like don't focus on them."
Mm.
A week later, she came back to Zig and she said, "Zig, you know what? I cannot tell you. The advice you gave me works so well. I cannot tell you how much these people change in that job.
The people. Okay.
The people change."
Because she changed,
So
right?
it's not exactly because she changed. It's
Or
like
her view, her
she
perception, also mindset.
exactly. And the late Dr. Wayne Dyer said, if you change the way you look at things,
Hmm.
and the things that you look at will change.
Right.
This is
Right.
exactly what happens sometimes in a relationship.
Right.
Sometimes people might say, "Well, he's so this, is so that." Yes, I'm not going to discount the fact that the other part, the other side is not really need some help, but look at you first,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm.
some the other side is looking to change, but they don't know how.
Okay.
They have no idea. But if you do the job, you will see the relationship gonna get
Mm-hmm.
better.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. So in a way, by our way of being, teach other
yeah.
people how to treat us, how to,
Exactly.
but it
That
also
is
change our
correct.
feeling about the situation or the people that we are interacting with.
Right, because most of the time people say, "You know what? I wish I could change the way so and so behave."
Mm.
Hmm. This is a tall order. You can never change anybody. You
Right.
cannot, unless that person is willing to change. But how? You Once you become aware that the other party need to change, this
Mm-hmm.
is the job is rests with me to
You.
start first. Once I start, and the other party can look and start getting inspired, and when they get inspired, they're gonna get motivated to do the same thing.
Okay. Yeah, I can
So
see
you
that
see, I don't
happening. But it's so
exactly.
easy to complain, right?
Right.
It's so easy to
Mhm.
sort of see the negative. And I think that's the other thing too, sometimes where when we focus on what's not working, the lack, like for example, a lot of time you hear people talking about what they don't have, right? So in relationship to relationship, if you
Mhm.
constantly hearing, I don't have this, I don't have a person, I'm not in a relationship, I don't know, in a way, if you're attracting that versus if you feel that whatever you currently have that you're grateful for, you're grateful that at least you have, let's say, friends and families and other things. You're not focusing on the thing you don't have yet, right? Because all your energy is focused on, I don't have a person. And then you're thinking everybody else has a person, right? Which is, it's not true. Everybody else don't, they don't have a person.
Qu- Quite simple. What you resist, persist.
Mm,
And you can see, what do you see in this country? War against drugs, war against teenage pregnancy, war against this, against that, against everywhere. How that
hmm.
works.
Yeah.
Anything that you are against, this is the same thing that's gonna keep
Yeah,
duplicating.
it's the same pattern. Same pattern. But it's a
That's
good
why
thing for
people
people
say,
to think about.
"Yeah, sure." People ask me what you are against. I say I'm not against anything. I know what I'm for.
Mm,
It's better to know what you are for than what you. Oh, I'm such against this, against that. People might say, "Well, I disagree with you. That's your right." But
mhm.
I'll tell you, because you have so much stuff to go against, you're gonna spend your energy against everything and without you for something. When you
Yeah,
know what you are for, you're better off.
you're
That's my
better off.
personal opinion. You know.
That's a good one. So I love that. So as we close, so what is the one thing, again, we new season, that you're grateful for
Mhm,
this?
mhm.
Well, let's just focus on today. I was gonna say this year, it's only a few days. What are you grateful
Uh-huh.
for today?
Well, I'm grateful for life, and I'm grateful for the people in my life. Well, my family, of course, and my God, you. I
Thank
mean,
you.
that is a breath of fresh air, because I mean, you are so resourceful. You are so instrumental to you are such a gift, and I'm not the only one, and I know a lot of people that you facilitate, a lot of people that you allow their life. You give them permission. Okay, maybe rephrase that, not allow, but you
Mm,
give them permission to be themselves. You give them permission to see in their own ability to be successful, to move towards a progressive ideal, which is what leadership is to influence someone or a group of people towards a progressive ideal. And I think you're doing that very, very well. So I'm grateful for your leadership.
thank you. I mean, I'm hoping, with all conversation, it's been amazing to have you in all the different spaces, because for me, I think I mentioned to you, I do talk about relationship, but I think now through that work is reminding people also that they are worthy. They're worthy of wellness. They're worthy of love, because I think sometimes people lose hope, right? Where they're like, depending on
Yes.
age or what they're going through, and don't forget we're still
Hmm.
dealing with a pandemic and so many things, and they feel like,
Yeah.
can they really, do they feel like they're worthy of something good happening to them in terms of meeting someone, like, or that they can be loved, right? Because again, we so focus on that one person that we may not
Hmm.
look around and see that, they are being loved in other ways. And so I think once we shift that idea of what we think love is, or start reimagining it differently versus that only seeing it in the romantic way, I think we will realize that
Hmm.
we can be loved without the ideal or that romantic way of seeing being in a loving relationship.
Yes, to me, it's not that difficult, but it's not that easy either. It's like a paradox. It's
Mm,
easy, not easy. So
right.
pretty much, but knowing that you can create. And there's a quote um, that I love in the Christian Bible, and it says, if you believe in the Lord, if you delight yourself in the Lord, He will give you the desires of your heart. So
Mm,
when I look at that passage, it's Psalm 37 verse 4. Psalm 37 4. So if you delight yourself in the Lord, He will give you the desire of your heart. And to me, I can, in a metaphysical level, I can say, if you really know, if you really allow yourself to really immerse and understand and know what is it you want, and you will get the desire of your heart. You can.
Mm.
So pretty much this is, you can have the relationship that you seek, and it's
Yes.
not that, put it this way, you cannot, how come you're a human being and you don't have a match? There's a match for you, but you need to know first of all, what is it you're aiming for? And
Mm.
once you know what you're aiming for, it's gonna be a counterpart that can really fit you so well that your life will be different. But you just have
Yeah.
to want. Yeah.
Want it, but also I think the idea of working on self, right? That self development is key, where you can
Of
attract
course,
what who you already are in a way.
exactly, and we can summarize that in one keyword: values.
Hmm.
Know your values, and that's pretty much all there is to it.
That's
What you
like that's
value,
it. What's
because
your value?
exactly.
Yeah, but hopefully, I'm hoping others will share in the comments. So where can we find you? I put your page where people can go and learn more about. I know you have some amazing programs coming up, events,
Yes,
and so they can go to the website and get more information.
and you can get some more information.
More
And
information. So more
and,
to come. I'm hoping others, you inspired others to think about love differently and relationship differently. And no, I think at the end of the day, I think we may combine our word in terms of, I think you mentioned being relatable as something we'll explore later, but the idea of being people thinking and believing that they deserve loved, that they are
mhm.
loved, and they can also be loving and expect
Mhm.
to also be loved. And I think that's the other thing too,
E-
because
exactly. And then the final point is, I love the term blueprinting, because it's like, because I cannot take that off my mind.
hmm,
Watching an architect, doing a drawing to build a house. They kind of like draw the house. And sometimes, not sometimes, when you go on the side where the building, and they pull the finished product, they really they put the building or the house finished. Actually, you can literally see
yeah,
the cars parked, see the trees. You see, they can even give you a 3D
hmm,
version of a particular,
yeah,
building. So this is how you can look at your relationship like that.
yeah,
But in order for us, or for me, for you to do so, you have to know all the parts that's going to be in that building. You have to have that blueprint to see, okay, where, how many floors in it, where, the offices, the bathroom, bedroom, and everything, where it's going to be. And I
hmm,
think relationship, we can do just that
be the same.
by,
Well,
yeah,
I'm looking
yeah,
forward to that and having people take the time, right? And I think that's where the intentionality come in terms of
mhm,
being able to envision, to reimagine, and knowing it is possible, right? It is possible, but you can
it's
work with them in
possible.
terms of working on themselves, but also if they're
Yeah,
currently in a relationship that you can always improve your relationship. You can always be more loving. There's no way
you
it's like
can,
that's too much love, okay?
yep,
But you
you
can
can
always
improve it.
improve.
For those of you that really want to start one, this is the best time to work on the foundation from the beginning.
Mm.
And that, oh my God, yes.
This is it,
Yeah.
the beginning.
Okay.
So thank you.
Mhm.
This is the start of more conversations to come, and I hope everyone enjoy everything. And then we'll come back again to share more
Yeah.
information, and then people will reach out to you. But I'm grateful to you for being willing to share your calling and what you also call your work, because you don't see it as it's not a burden. So you love really sharing with
Nah,
people and helping
we,
them.
we could stay here till tomorrow. We be
I'm
talking.
sure. But part two will come. So thank you, everyone. And we will see you next time.
Yes, thank you all for watching.